Jal Bundy has caught some weird things on camera while exploring the forest outside of his village late at night.
আস্তে 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 কেরে কেরে ওখানে কেরে দেখুন 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 দেখুন
In front of them is the white outline of a phantom apparition that for some reason stands out against the backdrop of total darkness. When they rush towards the apparition, you can see it shrinks into a small ball of paranormal energy and disappears around the tree. Is this strange ball of light edited or really paranormal is what I want to know. I feel like this video could be real because it's late at night. They sound scared and those woods look scary too. Freaky, right? Ghost towns are abandoned for a reason. Published to YouTube by Ricky Velasquez in May of 2020. Ricky claims the devil appeared writing in Spanish. I have no words to describe what happened. I don't think I can forget. This was filmed in a town in Mexico with around 250 residents. It's ostensibly a ghost town, and the duo's exploration of it is enough to run you out of town too. After doing some sort of ritual in the yard, outside an abandoned building, involving liquid being sprayed and fire being lit, the pair wanders around the grounds. As the cameraman takes in the surroundings in infrared mode, he spots something that gives him a fright. He decides to get out of there, hurrying down a dirt path. That's when he happens upon this. El Diablo disappears, but you can still feel him there. It's no wonder Ricky cannot forget. Moral of the story, if you call him, he will come. What would you do if you came across this chilling scene at night? Well, because there's a sign on the side of the road that reads "Free Cat." If it's there to lure unsuspecting people in, it's done its job. As these three stop their car to check out the makeshift animal shelter, as the trio approach the sign, they realize they're looking at something truly horrifying on a dark, deserted road at night. They conclude that whoever did this put the cats there because they're psycho. Couldn't agree more. Get out of there as fast as humanly possible. What is it like to have a bad encounter with a demon? You're about to find out. Published by Dark Life in December of 2021, this ghost hunter is thrown from above and not so politely asks why he came. When he asks who she is, she responds, and when he later asks that she state her name, her real voice comes out.
Я человек. А ты кто?
Later, when no one is answering him, he hears a noise coming from the next room, and that something appears to get aggressive with him, pulling him to the ground. That's when his battery runs out. Did he make it out alive? Well, this video did make its way online, but let's say only the demon knows for sure. It's not often you see two trains so close on the same track, occurring near Smith Falls in Ontario, Canada in 1992. The footage shows a passenger train that needed to hit the emergency brakes while en route to Toronto. The passenger train appears to be traveling at a fairly fast speed when a stationary freight train comes into view down the track. As the commuter has little time to slow, the engineer stumbles out of the locomotive cab. In the meantime, the freighter backs up slowly while the commuter train has managed to brake hard enough to come to a complete stop right in the nick of time. The approach left no more than 6 feet between the locomotives, a close call that makes little to no sense as to why or how it happened. Perhaps the film night at the museum wasn't too far off. This statue, located in England's Manchester Museum, appears to come to life. The ancient Egyptian statue dates back to around 1800 BC and perhaps is cursed by an ancient Egyptian spell. According to the museum's curator, Campbell Price, one day he noticed the 10-inch statue had turned entirely around. As reported by Manchester Evening News, Price said, "I thought it was strange because it is in a case and I'm the only one who has a key. When Price moved it back to its original position, he found it had moved again the very next day. He decided the next step was to set up a time-lapse video, but the video raised more questions than it answered, as the statue was caught red-handed rotating counterclockwise on its own by increments that wouldn't appear visible to the human eye. This occurs only during the daytime. The statue is still at night. While an Egyptian spell isn't off the table, one British physicist thinks the movement can be explained by something called differential friction. Brian Cox says this friction is caused by the footsteps of museum goers, whose vibration moves the statue during the day. Price, however, calls this into question, as the statue has been housed at the museum since the early 20th century, and it hasn't moved before. It also appears to be turning in a perfect circle and only up to 180 degrees, so that it's facing backward. Even more interesting, on the rear of the statue is an inscription requesting offerings of bread, oxen, and fowl. Perhaps this is the answer. The statue needs to be fed. This Redditor was seeing shadows moving from room to room throughout his home. He wanted to capture the phenomenon on video, so he set up a security camera. This is what he found. Posted to the Ghosts subreddit by GusBR89. The Redditor asks fellow Redditors to explain the following two surveillance videos. The first video shows a strange light anomaly coupled with a shadow distortion. The second video is taken that same evening and shows an orb float across the screen. Most assume the orb is dust, but others are curious about the shadow disturbing the first video. Redditor Cloudette says it looks like an intruder, while Yetin admits it certainly looks like something, though no Redditor really has a clear answer as to what this exactly is. The Redditor says this is not the only paranormal experience he's had in the place. He's heard footsteps, a child's laughter, and even has a witness to one of these shadows passing directly in front of them. While all of this is upsetting, many are more afraid of the doll, and nevertheless this video appears to convincingly show something paranormal. This home in Villisca, Iowa is where an axe-wielding maniac once took the lives of an entire family and 2 guests. Whoever did it was never brought to justice, and now, more than 100 years later, the restless spirits of those left behind have yet to find peace. A YouTuber named Lighthouse Music senses the spirit of children hiding in the closet and starts recording. She speaks in a nice tone and offers candy. Nothing happens for some time until... Then, as if further proof was needed, the spirit appears to follow some other basic commands.
Just a little bit further, or can you close it?
They even ask the child to open the door wider than before as a test, and it timidly seems to obey. But the part that really has me convinced is at the very end.
Just in case that was you, I'm going to do as promised. I'm going to leave you some candy. I'm going to leave it right here, over here on this chair for you, okay? Well, thank you.
Notice how the door shuts harder than any other time in the video as soon as the spirit gets what it wants. Maybe it could be a draft from a nearby window opening and closing the door, but this definitely seems like childlike behavior to me. Some friends practice soccer and talk about life when they cross paths with something that will change all of theirs forever. Caught on camera is what they claim to be a strange goblin creature clambering across the kitchen floor. Only one of them looks directly at it and he drops to the ground and covers his eyes like they burn. The creature, which barely comes up to waist level, runs out from behind this area behind the refrigerator. They lose sight of the goblin in a dark room, and the encounter is over, at least for now. This footage comes from Vietnam, where all sorts of strange creatures are rumored to still roam free through the wild and unconquered forests. This stuffed humanoid in particular has been deceased for quite some time, possibly for decades, and now looks discolored and slowly falling apart. It appears to be half man, half snake. Long blonde hair grows from its human-like head, which is furry all over yet also covered in straw blonde facial hair. Two rodent-like arms stick out from its fur-covered upper body. Its face looks like a cross between a man and an ape. The nose looks like it belongs to a primate, but the gray lifeless eyes and smirking mouth look like they could belong to a person. Its scaly lower half looks exactly like a snake's. Watching this thing in action must have been a terrible and shocking sight. How such a creature could come to be is unexplainable, yet here it is. Perhaps there are even more of them out in the wild. There's something unnatural in this yard. Can you tell what it is? Published by Ghost Chanel in April of 2022. You can see a white object moving in the darkness. The object is a little figure. The figure's arms reaches out and then this happens. Reaching out his arms moves the cart back. After moving it back again, the ghost disappears from view, only to reappear on the other side of the cart. A moment later, he is sleeping on it. Are these phantom powers being used for good or evil? They seem to be just for fun. A demonic entity haunts YouTuber Silent Jill subscribers in this scary video. While watching the horror movie The Rite, the couple experienced paranormal activity in their home, and they wrote to Silent Jill requesting that she investigate. In the middle of their tour, one of the team feels something touch him.
Vraiment touché?
Oui.
Oh, mais genre quoi?
Mais genre une petite caresse.
Allez, arrête!
Ah si? Mais y a rien.
Oui, ok, mais c'est pas parce qu'il y a rien sur les K2 qu'il y a rien du tout, hein. Ça dépend ça dépend ce qu'il utilise pour montrer son énergie, tu vois.
D'accord.
Let's see his reaction again.
Ça ne fait plus rien. On n'ose plus?
C'est des trucs dans mes cheveux.
Quoi?
Je sais pas. Comme si on m'avait touché les cheveux, mais...
Although nothing more overtly paranormal occurs during their investigation, they do sense something's here, and what's scariest to me is that it's not afraid to come close enough to touch them. Believe it or not, this doll is scarier than she looks. Published by Rota X in November of 2020. They encounter this creepy doll directly upon entering, covered in red. Let's hope that's paint. And then this happens. After they're running away as fast as they can from the demon doll, they realize a presence is still with them. It makes itself known via the EMF meter. Has whatever possessed that doll latched onto them? Time to call an exorcist. Located in Philadelphia, Fort Mifflin is known for its role in the Revolutionary and Civil Wars. And considering this history, it's also said to be haunted. YouTuber Katrina Weidman and her team head there to investigate. Using a photon camera built by Zach, who's an electrical engineer, the team captures movement and sounds inside the fort. This occurred in the Powder magazine. The team says no one was near the place at the time this was captured. A little later, Zach is running a thermal camera outside where he captures this.
I just heard a scream. I don't think that was the girls. I don't know if this is recording audio, but I just heard a scream.
When the team is later all together again, they get a spark on the Tesla coil.
Hey, can you touch that Tesla coil? Or the thing that's making some noise in the middle of the room?
Storking can.
Yeah, I heard that.
I don't know if I see it, but I hear it.
Was this where you stayed during solitary confinement?
To me, this seems like solid evidence to suggest that Fort Mifflin is indeed haunted, and it sounds to me like a former prisoner here continues to live out his afterlife in solitary confinement. Published by Dark Ghost Paranormal in August of 2021, Dennis set up cameras in a bunker hidden beneath a school, and this abandoned bunker in Germany has some mysteries up its sleeve. One camera captures a door slowly opening. In another room in the school above, Dennis asks for a sign that someone's here, and this is the response.
Наверное, знак, если надо где-то еще искать.
In the bunker, a blast makes Dennis jump. It sounds like it's coming from this box. Later, the light from his camera shuts off, and he's left in the darkness. Through the spirit box, the spirits tell him it's a trap. Strange carnival-like music seems to be coming from the spirit box. As Dennis's lights continue to malfunction, he has no escape. The door to the room is locked, and he can't get it open. He is in the darkness again with only a lighter to keep him company, while something unknown growls from the shadows. Later, he is told through the spirit box not to come. He finds the previously locked door mysteriously open to him. After racing out of there with his equipment, we can only imagine that he heeded the spirit's advice and never returned, which is a smart call. Jackal365 goes exploring his old creepy attic the day after hearing scary noises all night. 1 minute and 55 seconds is when something is caught moving on camera. He reaches the back of the attic and strains his eyes in the darkness to see it.
See anything?
A face drops down in front of the camera. Apparently the creature was hanging above him the whole time. He could have simply held a mannequin head upside down in front of the camera to create that effect, but his terrified squeal says otherwise. A Reddit user named Poncy Flauns hears something outside of his home that leaves him too afraid to move. Listen to this part and tell me if you hear a creepy woman's voice carrying a twisted tune. The haunting melody repeats over and over again, growing louder each time. There's no way that this is an animal. One person commented that this sounds like it could be an opera, and I can't say that they're wrong. Listen again.
Like, what is that?
Then you hear what sounds to me like a cry for help, and the singing never returns. If I lived in that house, I would be immediately locking all the doors and windows. It's every thrill seeker's worst nightmare. Published by Robbie8984 in January of 2012, this pair was strapped into an amusement park ride in Alton, Illinois, ready for the thrill of their lives when the belt snapped on one of their seats. As the ride takes off, the woman starts to panic when she sees her harness come unstrapped. Luckily, the harness doesn't seem to be necessary as the primary lock keeps her securely in place. Many in the comments say these belts are just fail-safe to give riders a sense of security. Either way, imagine seeing your sense of security come undone in the middle of being tossed through the air by a roller coaster. A YouTube channel called Proper Good Games is streaming Pokemon when a game goes flying across the room off camera.
I thought when people ate quail, it was like eating a fancy.
Oh my god,
They are both looking at each other and not moving at all when it happens, so it could not have been them. Then what she says next makes me feel like this happens all of the time. Do you believe her?
I'm not lying when I say ghost follow me around, right?
And when he goes to pick up the game, he lets out a gasp as the temperature into this part of the room suddenly grows very cold. Again, is this real or just good acting?
Oh, it's really cold. What is this?
Sure, it actually is.
This extraterrestrial sighting in Las Vegas is shocking the internet. Shared by YouTuber Black Collar Project. The guy in the video says he saw a thin creature standing about 8 to 10 feet tall in his backyard. He called his dad, and this is what they captured on camera.
Permitar. Calmongarela, me calcines variso. Kylo, cherro que chilica. Kylo, cherro.
Here's a closer look. What is that thing? Some in the comments are believers, while others have their reservations. Script or not, I believe him. You can hear real fear in their voices, and their reaction seems legit. This extraterrestrial is here on a mission, and I hope it's not to destroy us all.